Hi, my name's Paul. I'm communicator with the Education Department. Laura will be our escort behind the wheel, and we should show you an interesting day because we are going places the regular tour doesn't get to go at all. That includes a very good view of Cape Canaveral. Now that's totally separate from Kennedy Space Center. The Cape is the big chunk of land sticking out into the Atlantic in the east, sort of rounded off with a lot of water in front of you because a lot of our early rockets went off course or blew up. We thought fish don't have congressmen yet. It really all started back in 1950 at Complex 1, 2, 3, and 4 over there, way in the south. And it was the launch of a V-2 rocket from Germany with Dr. Werner von Braun in charge, and we were often flying. And we did work our way up the coast through the years with the early unmanned, then the manned missions of both Mercury and Gemini. But when it came to the huge, powerful Saturn V moon rockets, as you'll see, the pads were too close together for safety. So NASA moved west across the Banana River over here to Merritt Island, and we set up Kennedy Space Center on about 140,000 acres. Safety, yes, but it's also all wildlife preserve. And nowadays we have more endangered species in this piece of Florida than any place else in the country. Still only our two original pads, as you'll see, 39A and B, where all our Saturn V moon rockets, 135 shuttles took off from. Oh, and speaking of shuttles, off to the left, behind the tank and boosters in her own building, we have the real Space Shuttle Orbiter Atlantis. She flew 33 times, the last to fly in 2011, and after her landing, she was taken from her hangar up the highway we're going to travel into the open end of the unfinished building. Now, they've jacked her up as though she's in space, cargo bay doors open, heat streaked from all those missions, left her just as she was after that last landing. Really beautiful craft. And when you go see her, please go under the tank and boosters through the theater, because the way they reveal her over there brings tears even to our astronauts' eyes. I don't want to give it away though, but it's really a shiver. On the ground floor over there is also the shuttle launch experience. It's a simulator-based ride, giving you an idea what that 8.5-minute trip to orbit's like. No G-forces, nobody gets sick on it, but NASA shuttle astronauts provided input to get it as realistic as possible. But we are going to be starting out on the causeway going to Cape Canaveral, getting a good view of the pads across the water from us on the Banana River, telling you about launches there, upcoming launches. We have a launch this Sunday. It's a Falcon 9, but from Kennedy Space Center. They had been launching their Falcon 9 rockets with supplies to the space station satellites from Cape Side. They had an explosion over there about a year ago now, so it's just about put back together, but they've also leased 39A from NASA for at least 20 years, ostensibly for their heavy lift rocket, 3 Falcon 9 strapped together with 27 engines. But they're also capable of launching the singles. They've done this now 3 times from here, and this one is going to be Sunday between 7 and 9 in the morning with a National Reconnaissance Office spy satellite. So we're not quite sure what's on board, but they do give us a range of time in there. They have been landing their first stage Falcon 9s either with an autonomous ship offshore or old Pad 13 at Cape Canaveral, now called Landing Complex Number 1. They even have a sign up there. It's like the 1950s science fiction rockets with the legs coming out, coming back down to land. And our last flight of a Falcon 9 here was the first used rocket ever to fly again. So this will bring prices down, make space a little more affordable for everyone, and maybe if we take care of ourselves, we'll be able to head up too for a weekend getaway. We're not quite there yet. We'll go around pad 39B. We can get close to A, but usually it's about a week before launch with SpaceX over there. Sometimes they bring the rocket out, stand it up, do some tests. It's not like Shuttle or Saturn V where we roll out like a month before and there it sits. They can move these rockets and erector towers pretty quickly, so that's a little bit of the future too, it seems. 39B is really virtually all NASA's for our future heavy lift rocket called the Space Launch System. More powerful than anything that's ever launched off of Earth. In a couple of years, taking people back to the moon, to near-Earth asteroids, onto Mars. First test flight should be about a year from right now if we stay on schedule. Some of the pieces already made their way to Kennedy Space Center for being built all around the country. We do have videos of both those pads and those new rockets that'll be leaving from there, or already leaving as far as the SpaceX. And we also have a great video of the huge vehicle assembly building where we put our spacecraft together. Now we're going to start out going through our industrial area over to the causeway at Cape Canaveral, getting out for photos there, coming back through the industrial area. They're working on part of it too, putting in new drainage and all that. This is the first downtime we've had after shuttle stopped flying in many, many years, so taking care of the infrastructure around here too. Then heading out to our launch pads, stopping between them along this 42-mile stretch of untouched, beautiful beach out there. Getting out on one of the camera hillsides where they have the big tracking cameras that follow the rockets up. It's the one closest to the SpaceX launch, maybe a little too close because they don't have a camera up there for it. And then stopping at the huge vehicle assembly building and giving you some pointers about how big the place really is. Not many big square buildings around, so it's really hard to tell. Well, being a wildlife preserve, a lot of success stories here too through the years. For example, alligators. You know, they used to be endangered in the whole state of Florida. And now just on our property, we think we have about 6,000. And we're not sure. The fellow sent out to count them hasn't come back yet for some reason. Watch for some rods and teeth that went in. When we turn and get up to the head of the road, though, we'll show you how we started launching people into space almost 56 years ago now. Sometimes driving home, I see people pulling their cars over, getting out, going down towards the water, taking pictures of alligators. Not a good idea. In short spurts, they can go faster than a racehorse, and it's easy to slip into the water and be lunch. Now off to the right, by the Badger Station, we have a real Redstone rocket standing up with a mock-up Mercury capsule on top. It was May 5th, 1961, that Alan Shepard climbed aboard a craft like that capeside, launched sub-orbitally, only about 110 miles up over the Atlantic, and splashed back with a parachute 15 minutes after liftoff. 3 weeks later, President Kennedy said we should send a man to the moon before the end of the 60s. Oh, baby alligator to the right. You need to take a hand off. Yeah, it's some duckweed on top. Now we need to find 5,999 more. Another couple over here.
Yeah, right there.
And their lunch looking down. Of course, we did reach the moon July 1969 with Apollo 11. I think the Soviets breathed down our necks probably helped. These rockets were called gate guards. We had them in all our different gates. Up in front, our guard gate, and only folks with badges, clearances come through, or if you're on a bus. During the week, this place is like a small city in front of us, and on the weekends, if you were here, it gets really quiet.
Retired military with an ID, can you get through?
You can try. It depends, I guess, how high the rating was or something. The clearances. I wouldn't go crashing through the barriers. Be fun for a while. By the way, did anybody see the big square vehicle assembly building in the distance on the way in? Yeah, hard to miss. Again, we'll be stopping by it later and getting out for photos. It was designed to stack up 4 Saturn V's, pretty large. We modified 2 high bays about 39 years ago for shuttle. Starting 2 years ago, redoing them for the Space Launch System. When we get to the top of the overpass in front of us, if you look directly to the left or north, you'll get a view of the building. And if anyone wants to guess about how far away from the bus it is, just shout out a number. We'll see how close you come. When it gets rainy, it disappears in the mist, but not today. Okay. Directly to the left, any other guesses?
6 miles?
6
Oh, I heard it.
miles.
It's actually 5 miles, right?
Oh.
And you gave it away. I'm gonna watch you, you're a slippery one. We'll give you the numbers on it too when we get there. Now our industrial area, really our back lot. Without the work here, I don't think we get anything. Coming up ahead to the left, a long white building is a communications center. That big dish antenna is an uplink and downlink through satellites to the other NASA centers around the country. A backup system since we've gone to fiber optics. Ahead on the right coming up, the brown building, the Central Instrumentation Facility or Computer Center. Built during Apollo with the big floor standing computers, they got smaller and faster. And our 21st century system is a new building we'll show you a little later. Well, with NASA and now private companies heading to space from here, we need someplace where everybody can get together on the same page. And that's NASA headquarters coming up. When we go by, in the top center behind the flagpole, the director's office. And right now that's Bob Cabana, retired shuttle astronaut, commander of the very first shuttle flight to put the first pieces of space station together. We're actually in the process of finishing up a brand new headquarters. It's more cost effective, I guess, to rebuild a new one than redo the old one. And we have one floor for every planet in the solar system. And if that pesky ninth planet turns up, I guess we'll have to add a penthouse. Now the next white building, operations and checkout. This is where the quarters for the astronauts are when they come in from Houston before flight. The clean room, originally checking out the lunar landers and command modules, now switched to the Orion capsule, the spacecraft that the astronauts will launch on the SLS into deep space again. The last brown building, the Space Station Processing Facility. Now all the parts of the ISS launched by shuttle, all 15 countries made their way through here. And it was one of the regular bus stops because you could go in back, look through huge windows at those real parts getting ready for flight. They've been putting new air conditioning and filter systems on the roof, so parts of SLS will come through, and hopefully, maybe I'll pivot a little bit for this, that they'll reopen the viewing gallery for us too. Again, we're launching over the ocean for safety, but there's another good reason too, and that's why we're in Florida doing this. Being closer to the equator here, when we launch due east, we pick up almost a 900-mile-per-hour boost from the spin of the Earth, like a slingshot throwing you off a planet. This cause we were heading to, also where a bus like this would bring you to watch a shuttle lift off. Back in the Apollo days, though, you could come in with your own vehicle, security was less. And sometimes, if it's during the day when the visitor complex is open, we do sell tickets out here. We're not going to be covering this one. I guess it's a little too early. Between 7 and 9. When we get past the trees and bushes up here, we'll show you those northern pads of the Cape and those some upcoming launches that we have. The posts on the right up here have speaker systems so you can hear the countdown and launch. And about 20 seconds after launch, you'd hear it for real coming across the water at you. Well, as we clear the bushes on the left, directly to the left there's a smaller white tower with lightning masts, pad 41 for the Lockheed Martin Atlas V. They stacked the rocket up in the tower and only rolled it to the pad about a day before launch. That was our last launch about a week and a half ago, a Cygnus capsule with supplies to the space station. The next one there coming up August 3rd, it's a TDRS communications satellite set for 8:40 in the morning. Next to it, between the gray buildings, the original launch site for the Falcon 9 from SpaceX that they're cleaning up again. They'll be launching this April 30th from Kennedy Space Center. We'll show you that when we turn the other direction. In front to the left, that larger white tower with two lightning masts, pad 37 for the Boeing Delta 4. The tan cream-colored building to the right is where they can get 3 of the 16-foot diameter first stages ready at a time. They're brought over horizontally and stood up. And then the tower moves away from the rocket. We had a launch there about a month ago with the military communications satellite, and we're not scheduled for one till late this year with another global positioning satellite.
Why your GPS is all messed up.
As we come around off the right nose of the bus, past the tip of the closest island to us, you'll see 3 lightning masts in the distance. That's pad 39B at Kennedy. We took the entire shuttle tower down and sold it for scrap. That's home to the Space Launch System, and we'll show you its launch platform and tower being built. Coming to the tip of the island now, 39A with still most of the shuttle tower in place. SpaceX is reworking part of the steel there, as you'll see. We'll see if their rocket is out or horizontal or in a hangar over there when we drive closer. Right now we'll be getting out on the stands up in front that belong to Boeing Aerospace. If you'd like to come out, take some pictures, ask questions, feel free. But please do stay on the concrete or stands, not the grass. We're known to have fire ants out here. They're little guys, but boy, when they bite you, you know it.
This would be a great place to see a launch.
I don't think I can see anything more out there.
What's that?
I won't see anything more there than I can see.
Too bad we can't watch from here. That would be the side.
They were being built in Louisiana and brought around the state. Well, when we switched to flying shuttle, oh, we have a manatee to the right that was spotted with his tail popping up.
And
a baby. And a baby.
We're getting cameras. Well, we modified the barge for the external fuel tanks. Now the barge stretched out even bigger for the first stages of the SLS rocket. The Space Launch System is really a combination of technologies. Long and pointy like a Saturn V, so we can get up enough speed to break free of Earth gravity. It's about 25,000 miles an hour. Shuttle was really stuck in Earth orbit at only 17,500 miles an hour. It has 4 shuttle main engines upgraded for more power on the bottom, 2 solid boosters from Shuttle, but with more fuel sections for more power. And this will be the most powerful rocket ever launched anywhere. Today it's still a Saturn V at 7.5 million pounds thrust. Shuttle again right behind at 7 million. The SLS should have between 8.5 to 9 million pounds thrust at liftoff. So come on back in about a year and get your teeth rattled. That first unmanned flight. Boeing is contractor on the rocket stages, and Lockheed with the capsule up on top. Now, since NASA's heading people to deep space, they're turning over Earth orbiting duties to private companies like SpaceX and Boeing. SpaceX has been launching their Dragon version 1 capsules with supplies to the space station and come home and land in the water to bring back experiments. Their Dragon 2 for people is really cool. It has engines in the back, landing gear also. And it also will land at Pad 13 at Cape Canaveral tail first, like the 1950s science fiction rockets. Boeing Aerospace designing a command and service module, the CST-100, to launch on Atlas rockets right next door. And that's reusable because it comes home with airbags and parachutes. And they've taken over one of the 3 hangars where our orbiters used to live to produce it. Easy to spot out here. It has the big color Boeing mural wrapped around the building showing it on orbit. So it looks as though private industry really getting busy here. The Dream Chaser from Sierra Nevada wasn't chosen by NASA to bring people up and back to the space station. It was a small-winged orbiter to hold the 6 or 7 crew members and change them out at one time. But their cargo version without windows did clear, and that'll be landing at the shuttle landing facility after launching with an Atlas rocket here too. Now off to the left, the space station building. The front part with windows are labs and offices. The brown section behind is the clean room. And up in front to the left, the large clean room from operations and checkout. You saw the Bruce Willis film Armageddon. His crew heading out to launch on the space shuttle to knock apart a comet heading towards Earth came through there. The real crews actually come out on the other side. But there's not a road there anymore since they built the headquarters. The Astrovan for shuttle is at the ground floor of the Atlantis building, and at the Saturn V Center they have the old paddle truck Astrovan from the Apollo days. Now up in front to the left, when we get past these trees, you're going to see a ramp going up to cream-colored doors. They're reworking the road up in front of us. And that ramp is where 65-foot-long clean room canisters would go in with parts of the station for checkout, head back down, and go to the pad.
Where did the tour go yesterday?
We must. You'll see how a lot of the buildings around here date back to the Apollo era, upgraded for shuttle, reworked again. and another road. I'm still amazed that from the earliest days out here. Oh, another alligator, two of them on the right, a big one and a smaller one. 5,994. But ever since the beginning of the Apollo program, NASA was saying, well, the taxpayers are paying for all of this, they should know what's going on, and they started tours back in 1968. Of course, they didn't have a visitor complex, they had a trailer, 2 buses, and hand-stamped tickets. What you spend on everything at the complex goes back to adding it up on the complex, not to NASA.
SpaceX already did one test with launching and then having to come back down and land on the pad?
With the Dragon capsule, actually it was an emergency escape test. They fire off the small engines around the side to pull free of the upper stage and then land out in the water, and they did that about a year and a half ago. But as far as landing the Dragon 2 on land or a landing pad, no, they haven't done that yet.
So nobody's actually done that yet?
Right.
Okay. Must be looking at the flashing window. Yeah, that's what they did. What's going on with bars?
Up ahead to the left, this new tan and white building is the new Central Instrumentation Facility or Computer Center. You know, if you have an iPad or iPhone in your pocket or purse, you can blame NASA for that. Because it was NASA that wanted to shrink down these refrigerator-sized computers to something that would fit and work in a spacecraft. Of course, they're not going to knock down the old headquarters until people move into the new one. Up in front to the left, if you see that archway connecting the 2 parts of operations and checkout, just on the right of that, underneath, is where the astronauts would come out waving to get on the Astrovan. And in the first film of the Atlantis building, you'll be able to see that down there. That silver door on the end of operations and checkout that's just hanging up halfway up the building is where we had a people mover to bring astronauts off of the space shuttle orbiter after landing when we were doing experiments to see how people would reacclimate to Earth, say if they were coming to the space station, and we'd slide them in there. To the head right here, these are separate sections of the new launch tower, and we build them in pieces so we can test fit pieces for the pad here first, like swing arms, electrical connections. We did the same thing with Apollo and Shuttle. We'll show you the full, almost completed tower near the VAD later. Again, ahead to the right here, almost in front of us, there's that cream-colored door where the parts of the space station come out. The older white building ahead to the right was flight crew training in Apollo days, now cutting-edge technology. They're working with artificial intelligence, AI-powered robot swarms that can work together to, say, build habitats on the moon or Mars without any human help. I don't know, it still gives me the creeps. They're plotting against humanity or something. Thank you, Laura. We're not going to pay your ticket. My background is, well, when I was a small boy, my mom made me go to school when Al Shepard was taking his 15-minute flight. She was watching the television. I came home, had a cold cup of coffee, never changed her out of her robe in the morning, riveted to the TV, and she said, "Paul, this is amazing stuff. This is the future. The heck with school. Let's watch launches together." So she got me going on this. No, I didn't work for NASA, just sort of really enjoyed it a lot, and been here for 18 years, believe it or not. So. Keeps working, but don't tell my boss. Well, we are going to be taking the same route that the astronauts take with their Astrovan out to the pad. Maybe coming down the road that isn't there anymore to the left. The VAB, we're going to get a good view of it, get close to it, and of course stop by it later. It's one of the largest buildings in the world by volume, but it still remains the very largest one-story building anywhere. If we could get inside and look up to the roof, you're almost guaranteed to get a little dizzy. We'll give you numbers and comparisons on it though, and we have a great video both inside and out, the past and future there too. We're still working with NASA, leaning out a little bit to see if we can get in one of the high bays where they're not building up the new launch platforms for SLS. Stay tuned.
I thought it was the largest one-story building. They just said this is the one.
Well, I'm not going to dispute what they know after they know what it is. Tore up the rail. That's interesting.
Well, as we come around to get a view of it again in front of us, it's hard to believe the VAD is standing over 52 stories tall. But again, designed for 4 Saturn V's, 2 big high bays on the left or western side, another 2 in the eastern. The eastern bays that were reworked for shuttle and now almost completed for the Space Launch System. The gray doors on the building go up 456 feet. Only 6 feet of clearance with the Saturn coming through. We'd open them halfway to get a shuttle through. And just to the left of the building is that new launch platform and tower being built, almost completed. It's up on a set of 6 pylons, so our crawler transporters, and we'll show you those, can drive under, pick it up, bring it in the building to build the rocket, and then bring that whole assembly to the pad for launch. We'll go past the tower and platform, a couple shuttle launch platforms, and our 2 crawler transporters when we get over there. We'll switch gears for a minute and show you a more natural construction though. This is one of 16 bald eagle nests on our property. The only one visible from a roadway, but it's the oldest and largest. At least 51 years old this year, and we think weighs close to 800 pounds. They'll point it out on the way back too, but the best way to spot it is the electric poles on the left. Now, not the set we're passing here or the second set. Look at the third set in the trees. Just to the left of the poles, the tallest tree in the second row has the nest. The eagles had 2 eaglets this year. They hatched out around New Year's. They'll be heading to the Carolinas for the hot summers pretty soon. Right up here. This might be a little early, but it's getting warmer, so they may have taken off already, literally. But you'll see it on the way back too. Well, back to the VAB, we do have a short video to show you this place inside and out.
Just ahead is one of the world's largest buildings by volume, the Vehicle Assembly Building, or VAB. It was built for the Apollo program in the 1960s and stands 525 feet or 160 meters high. The American flag you see on the front is 21 stories tall. The VAB is where everything comes together before a launch. The Apollo and Space Shuttle vehicles were assembled for flight in the VAB. This cavernous facility contains 4 huge bays where the spacecraft were assembled using massive overhead bridge cranes for highly complex maneuvers. Today, the VAB is being updated to assemble our next human-rated launch vehicle, the Space Launch System, or SLS. The SLS is the most powerful rocket in history and has an evolvable design that ranges from 321 to 384 feet tall, depending on mission requirements. This rocket will someday help NASA to reach its goal of human exploration of Mars. The large tower next to the VAB is the mobile launcher being built for SLS. When completed, it will carry the massive launch vehicle on top of the crawler transporter to pad 39B. You will learn more about the launch of SLS when we get to the launch pad. Adjacent to the VAB is the Launch Control Center, the distinctively shaped 4-story building which houses the launch team. This is where the ground controllers, engineers, and launch director monitor the spacecraft and manage all the activities leading up to launch.
We'll be passing that in just a couple minutes too. Right up in front of us though, these 3 square cream-colored buildings are the hangars where our orbiters used to live between missions. Of course, NASA leasing them out, number 1 and 2, to the Air Force for their not-so-secret X-37B unmanned orbiter. There's one on orbit right now that's been up over 2 years, doing we're not quite sure what, to land at our shuttle landing facility runway. The third one, though, with the big Boeing mural wrapped around it, is the CST-100. Again, that capsule that will launch on Atlas rockets with our astronauts to the space station, probably about a year and a half from right now, that first flight. We do have some of the big bay doors open on the vehicle assembly building to let in natural sunlight. They're working on the opposite side, putting the finishing touches on the new work platforms that will surround the SLS. we get on the other side of the hangars here, though, you'll see the big original doors that let the 78-foot wingspan and 56-foot high tail of our orbiters go through. Again, just about 5 years ago, Atlantis making her way up this highway to the visitor complex. We'll show you one of our two crawler transporters a little distance away from us. This one was upgraded with new engines and hydraulics to lift the heavier SLS rocket. Never brought anything that heavy to the pad before. We'll get a lot closer to the other one a little later. When we get past the yellow building on the right here, you'll see our gray crawler transporter parked. They both look virtually alike. That vehicle over there by itself weighs over 6 million pounds. Park wherever it wants to. Again, we'll get closer to the other. Directly up in front of us is one of the 3 shuttle launch platforms sitting on pylons. There's a second one in the building, and the third one you'll see on the other crawler. These were developed from the old Apollo platforms years ago, and this platform by itself in front of us weighs over 9 million pounds. Underneath, you'll see a big opening for the 3 main engines of the orbiter, and next to it 2 others for the solid boosters to blast through. Just enough room under there for the crawler to get under and pick up hydraulically.
Oh, yeah.
In front of us, the first really new piece of equipment we built in a long time, the platform and tower for the SLS. This weighs over 10.5 million pounds. Right now, 380 feet tall for the first version of the SLS. Our Deep Space Mars upper stage, well, we're just going to make the tower taller, too. On the NASA banner that they put up here, you see the signatures of the folks that have been working on it so far. Eric Cole was the first person probably to sign it.
We don't get to stop here.
We're coming up to the 2 eastern bays of the VAB where we've stacked shuttles for over 30 years, now converted to the SLS assembly. It's really hard to tell how big a square building is, no real comparisons, but when we get past the shipping containers and portable offices, we'll give you a more everyday comparison. If you look in between the big gray bay doors, the white part of the building in the middle, and then go all the way down to ground level, at ground level in the middle of the building are 3 8-foot-high, double-wide human doors that look like mouse holes down there. Finally, some scale to the place. High Bay 3 on the right is the one that will be ready first for SLS. Next door, the long white building, the Launch Control Center. We'll talk more about that when we pass by it on the way back from the pads. Right now we're driving parallel to our stone crawler way. Now this is about as wide as an 8-lane highway with the crawlers straddling the grass strip in the middle. We brought spacecraft to the pad along this since 1967. When we turn, directly in front of us is the waterway where the barge Pegasus would dock to bring in parts of the spacecraft. Building a brand new pier over there on steel and concrete. Just up ahead on the right, where all those buildings are gathered together, that's the press site. That's as close as anybody gets to a launch. Minimum of 3.5 miles away from our pad. On the launch, though, even standing over there with shuttle, feels like somebody's slapping your face and chest with a shockwave. Looking forward to SLS holding on to something. And we have a special roadway for two good reasons. Number one, weight. Again, with the shuttle rollout, the crawler weighing 6 million pounds, the platform 9 million. The shuttle is stacked above that, usually about 4.5 million pounds. And the second part of the equation, well, we're in Florida with soft, sandy soil. Mix that together, you'd sink right in. So to build this, we dug down about 8 feet, put in layers of hydraulic fill, crushed rock, limestone, and a topping of Alabama River rock. Under the treads, it crushes to dust to smooth the ride out. And we chose Alabama rock because unlike most rocks, if you hit it, bang it, or crack it, it will never ever spark. You don't want sparks with solid boosters above you. Now, traveling about a half mile an hour with the spacecraft, it usually takes about 8 hours to get to the pad. An empty crawler, though, can zoom back at its top speed of 1 mile an hour. Our second crawler transporter parked in front of us, and on top of it, the very shuttle platform that launched our last shuttle mission with Atlantis in 2011. Now, the platforms are for lease to any private companies that want to modify them for use at Pad B for their rockets, and this crawler would be at their disposal. Yeah, we do have a road grader come through and turn the rock over and have a piece of chain link fence drag behind. We had the crawler go by this section without doing that yet. I think they're getting ready to move the crawler in front of us to keep it exercised because they brought the road grader out yesterday. They should sell some of the rocks at a gift shop. But it's NASA property, they don't sell stuff. As we go by, and we'll come back this way later for the folks on the other side of the bus too, you'll see how the crawler has driver's cabs at both ends. Because you don't turn something that big around, you drive it one way or the other. Over the treads, those great columns are the hydraulic lifts that move the body of the vehicle up and down 6 feet to pick it up. You know, I still think George Lucas got his idea for the Jawa sand crawler from these.
Yeah.
We need somebody out here on a brown road.
Yeah, right.
There are 2 diesel locomotive engines on board that crank up 16 electric motors to smooth the ride, and the gray cans between the treads are the electric motors. Again, we'll come back this way. In front of us, the crawlerway splits left to 39B, mostly NASA's deep space pad. 39A up in front, where SpaceX has taken over. You know, most of our missions through the years took off from A. But think of this. Everybody that walked on the surface of the moon left from the pad directly in front of us. Even though Laura braved the parking lots in the industrial area, I don't think we're going to crash through the stop sign ahead of us to A.
Too bad.
When we turn, though, towards B, you'll see to the right of Pad A, big SpaceX hangar, and that's where those triple Falcon rockets will be bolted together, or the single ones, and the rocket that will be leaving here on the 30th is inside there today. We'll get a better view of the pad from the ocean in just a little bit, but we also have a short video to show you about what SpaceX is doing out here.
Since the end of the Space Shuttle program in 2011, Pad 39A has begun yet another transformation. Commercial developer SpaceX is modifying the pad to launch a larger version of their Falcon 9 rocket, called the Falcon Heavy. SpaceX is also building a crew capsule capable of carrying astronauts, and will be launching crews to the International Space Station as part of NASA's Commercial Crew Program. Another commercial provider to support NASA's crew transportation is Boeing. They named their capsule the CST-100. Like SpaceX, Boeing's capsule will begin flying to the station later this decade. They will launch from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station just a few miles from here on a modified Atlas V rocket. With private industry stepping up to support low Earth orbit missions to the ISS, NASA can focus more heavily on deep space exploration, which you will learn about at Launch Pad 39B.
In front of us, you'll see how the crawler way goes upward for the 45-foot flame trench underneath the launch vehicle. We tried digging down originally in Apollo for the flame trench, but we're so close to the ocean, the seawater bubbled up and we had to build upward. And they had to modify the crawlers back then to have the hydraulics one side go up, one down, keep everything level. The whole last hour coming out here is just creeping up the hillside, making sure it stays level. Lightning mass, very important too. This part of Florida, the lightning capital of the U.S. The protection is actually a webwork of cables that runs between the white insulators, protecting everything inside. Again, a little over a year from now, probably the first test flight of the SLS, unmanned. There was some talk about putting people on it, and I think that might be pushed. NASA sold the steel from the tower here when they took it down to a scrapyard north of Titusville and Mims. So if you want a little piece of history, I guess you have to go up there. Check the pond area for any alligator activity up here. If you work out here, it's a good idea to look under your car before you go.
I see two of them.
1, 2. And there's one over here. Like they head to the left, and one about 3/4 of the way across with his eyes up. Oh, and another one on the bank where the reeds are, with his tail sticking out. I lost count. We'll come back this way. The big white spheres you'll see on either side of the pads are really big thermos bottles for the very cold liquid hydrogen and oxygen fuel. Big fleet of trailer trucks comes in about a day and a half before launch to fuel them. They each take about 500,000 gallons. The light gray box up there with the steel work that goes up is the elevator that will take our astronauts up that far to get on top of the launch platform and then take the elevator in the tower on the platform to the spacecraft. We'll come back this way too. Up ahead on the right again, 39A. Now, SpaceX is going to leave the main tall tower with the lightning mast on it, take that section to the right of way that used to wrap around the orbiter for protection and transfer cargo. But they'll enclose the tower for instrumentation. That tower's been out here for more than 30 years of shuttle flights, but it started its flight back in the early 1960s as the upper two-thirds of one of the orange towers standing next to Saturn V. So a lot of history there. We're coming up to our next stop. It's called the Unmanned Camera Site number 7. Unmanned for flights from these two pads because they're less than a mile away. And when we get out, if you would please stay inside the railing and roped area. And again, feel free to take pictures, ask questions. There's a portable toilet spot for you right up in front of the bus. And we have two big oval signs, one facing each pad, showing which missions through the years left from which pad. This is a 42-mile stretch of untouched beach. Nowadays we have more sea turtle laying area here than any place else in the country.
Would be so cool.
Overhauls, hence the name. Never stick your hand in one of those because they have roommates that are long with very big teeth in front of them. Rattlesnakes. The snake gets a free burrow and the tortoise gets a free alarm system. Well, Pad 39B is going to have an interesting future in deep space. We have a video to show that too.
Nowhere else on KSC is preparation for the future as obvious as at Launch Pad 39B. Built as an identical pad to 39A for the Apollo Saturn V rocket, Pad B was also updated for the Space Shuttle program. 53 shuttle missions launched from this pad, including 12 missions to help construct or resupply the space station. Today, the pad is being modified for the Space Launch System, or SLS. It will be used for NASA's deep space missions beyond Earth orbit, including the capture of an asteroid and, eventually, human exploration of Mars. 3 600-foot-tall masts were built near the pad to provide lightning protection to the vehicles prior to launch. Both the fixed service structure and rotating service structure that were built for the shuttle have been removed, making it more flexible and able to support many different launch vehicles. Below the pad is a 4-story facility that houses the infrastructure needed for launch, including power, hydraulics, and water. Several miles of outdated wiring and cables have been removed and replaced with high-speed fiber optics. The first SLS mission carrying a crew aboard the Orion spacecraft is set to launch on a 3-week trip to orbit the moon to demonstrate the capabilities necessary for NASA to conduct an asteroid retrieval mission. SLS vehicles will evolve to support human deep space missions, in addition to robotic missions and astronomical observatories. In the past, such missions have been limited by the size and capabilities of existing rockets. The SLS payload carrier is large enough to hold 9 school buses. Its larger propulsion systems would enable more direct trajectories, reducing mission travel time and increasing actual mission time by years. Previous spacecraft have had to make multiple gravity assist maneuvers around the inner planets to reach the velocity needed, costing valuable time.
Because tomorrow goes up.
This should be a busy, noisy place a little over here from right now. Of course, on launch, no people are closer than the press site. No cars parked any closer than that. When I've been at the press site for a shuttle liftoff, it seems the folks parking there would forget to turn off their car alarms. Or turn them on purpose, because of course when the shockwave hits, they all go off at once. Rocket scientists. Yeah, they recently, about 5 years ago, built these associated buildings, and I always wondered about having the windows on this side facing the pad. Very flexible Lexan that NASA came up with. I feel like buying one of those half softballs you stick on a window and putting it there, but I get in trouble. Over to our left, we have a set of relatively smaller side deflectors from shuttle. They're being reworked for SLS. This would catch the edge of the blast between the launch platform and the flame trench. Almost looks like artwork. Big brush. Well, it's nickel steel, but the surface is called fondue fire, a European invention. It's a foamed concrete with fireproof capabilities. It's pretty easily reworked, I guess.
Looks like a melted. I meant to tell you this a long time ago. I received an invitation.
Well, if you notice on the lightning towers, between the white insulators, there are fine cables running, and it's called a, everything inside would be protected from lightning, a Faraday cage. The water tower by the pad holds some 400,000 gallons of fresh water, and that's spewed out in about 21 seconds under the engine sounding light to muffle the shock waves. Without that, it would bounce up and do damage to the tail of the orbiter. Now back at Apollo, we didn't have the simplified system. We had a pump house and 5 pumps inside, 2 big outdoor water tanks, 1 for each pad. We made things a little easier with shuttle, but now the engineers for the SLS rocket are saying we're going to deal with so much power, we need both systems working together. So luckily we didn't take the pump house apart. We're refurbishing it, and it's up here ahead on the left. Water tower's still out back. On the tail of Atlantis, where the main engines are, you can see some of the black tiles, how they're pebbled, and that was from launch, but just to the point where they were still effective. The earliest Apollo missions, we thought we'd be flying to the moon a lot more often, setting up a moon base. We were going to build pad 39C north of these 2 for the extra missions, and have a crawlerway spur head out from this one towards it. Well, we started construction. Of course, those extra missions were canceled. We didn't get too far with the crawlerway spur. Ahead on the right, where the skinny meteorological tower is sticking up, is where it would have headed out. So if we didn't get so far, we just put some grass down over there. But that is what remains of the path to pad C for now. History that wasn't. What we did do over here about a year ago was replace several layers of the crawler rock because we are bringing out more weight than it's ever seen before with the SLS rollouts. The old rock wasn't wasted. Back at the visitor complex, the main road from the entrance curving down to the bus tours, those side berms are the crawler rocks glued down. Still waiting for somebody to come in with a hammer and chisel though for a souvenir.
What's in all the pipes that are running
Oh, the
along?
pipes next to us here actually carry nitrogen gas. We use that to get rid of the explosive and flammable hydrogen and oxygen vapors after a launch, clear the lines out. Used to tell people it was our emergency communication system. We had trained gerbils to carry notes through it.
That's a good one.
You get a sense of how wide the crawlerway really is here.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, the company that built the crawlers is now long out of business. We do have to make all our own parts, do maintenance on them. The mileage, not much to write home about, even from the 60s when they were built. We get about 32 feet per gallon of diesel fuel. We don't joyride them. As I mentioned, we do run this one up about once a month to keep it exercised for the commercial future. We did make replacement cleats about 10 years ago because the older ones, which weighed right about a ton, are hollow and they would crack. So we recast new ones that weigh about a ton and a couple more 100 pounds to it that seem to work. We should say, you know, free cleats. You just have to pick it up and take it home. With the new engines on the other crawler, maybe we'll get 34 feet again. Well, up in front again, the Launch Control Center. Now, there are 4 firing rooms behind the windows. On the far left side, Firing Room 4 handled the last 21 shuttle missions with newer upgraded equipment. Now it's changing over to the commercial side of spaceflight. Firing Room 1 on the far right dedicated now to the SLS launches. 2 and 3 are backups to those. When at the end of the trip, when we leave at the Saturn Center, you'll see how they rebuild a firing room, windows and all, and have the actual consoles wired in that they used during Apollo. They light up the monitors, the big board, and they'll take you through a simulated launch of Apollo 8. And when the count hits 0, they start rattling the walls and the windows and now the seats to give you an idea what it was like 3.5 miles away. The rocket you'll see over there used to lay out in front of the VAB until about 20 years ago. We had it restored and moved indoors. And where the rocket used to be, we have some displays. There's a full-scale mock-up of the escape rocket system that'll be on the top of the SLS to pull the crew free in an emergency. One of the real armored personnel carriers that the astronauts learned to drive to get away from the pads in an emergency. We never had to use them for real. They love practicing in them. They're getting MRAPs now. And we have part of the flag of the building painted on the ground in the same scale. And temporarily the real crew access arm for all the shuttle flights from Pad A where they crossed over, got their helmets on. That should wind up on the ground floor of the Atlantis building, but here temporarily. When we pass the bushes on the left, we'll get another view of our press site. And over to the left, where the American flag is flying, the blue box on the ground is the backside of the new electronic countdown clock. The old one used incandescent light bulbs. I guess they weren't making those anymore. And that's now the electronified clock out by the entrance to the visitor complex. Again, they're reworking the pier. It was really just wood pilings before, where the large Pegasus would come in and getting a little more high-tech. The first stages of Saturn V's, the external fuel tanks would come off there across the road in front of us and into the lower transfer aisle door of the VAB, where cranes would pick them up. Now, when we get out, folks, if you please stay behind the nose of the bus in the railing area, but again, feel free to take pictures and ask questions. left, this low white building is probably the most popular building out here. Is the cafeteria. Good prices, good tasting food, but I always wonder about eating here because when we make the turn to go down, you'll see on the back attached to it the emergency medical facility. Now that has a sense of humor.
I think they said they got us Saturn. We eat lunch there. Yeah, because there is a place out there. Yeah.
Areas about the size of the basketball court, but it's 21 stories tall.
Do they leave us there? Or do we come back on this bus? Yeah.
Well, it's usually dehydrated, so you have to have warmer water.
You guys gonna eat after this?
Yeah. Well, I think they dropped us in Saturn.
Yes, they did.
Apollo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
then
inside.
we could just eat there and then take the bus back to the main campus. Might not be too crowded. Yeah, there's a Moon Rock Cafe in Saturn. Moon Rock Cafe.
I don't think so.
Oh, you mean where it didn't land? No, okay, Saturn.
I get both the hangars up here for the X-37, and I think one of this here was under a shrink wrap, and they took it out to the end of our runway for something to test out before the other one came home. It's like a small orbiter with tiles, cargo bay, wings, and no room for people. And it's really not a secret because on the second one in, you'll see the big patch with the showing it on orbit. But don't tell anybody. Right here, we're crossing over the towway where we bring our orbiters back to their hangars from our 15,000-foot shuttle landing facility. The other side of the roadway comes the towway. And sometimes, when we were flying orbiters, darn it, you get stuck in a bus when they're pulling an orbiter right in front of you. Let's check for any alligators here off on the right under the pond on the overpass. Sometimes they hang out over here. Big one likes to take over. He's out eating somebody, I guess. Ahead to the left, you can see how the towway curves out, and that meets up with the south end of the shuttle landing facility. But besides the X-37 coming home whenever it does, also the Dream Chaser from Sierra Nevada, the cargo version will be coming back here with experiments and things after bringing supplies up to the station. Probably about 2 years from now for that. Right now, though, we're taking you on to the Saturn V Center. Again, NASA canceling our last 3 moon missions to put the time and money to the reusability of shuttles, so we had leftovers. The rocket's real and restored, but we also have a real command and service module, unflown and shiny to get here, a real lunar lander hanging from its hard points in the ceiling, moon rocks, of course, to look at and touch. There's a blue kiosk right next to the command and service module, reaching and touch a piece of the moon. Al Shepard's moon suit from Apollo 14. After his 15-minute suborbital flight, he had to overcome some middle ear problems, and when he did and was cleared for flight again, he was commander of 14. The other 2 guys in the flight called him the rookie. And his suit has moon dust still on it, as well as the Apollo 14 command module. Now folks, you can stay here as long as you wish. Buses come by every 10 minutes to take you back to the complex. And we'll leave you by a big set of silver doors that open automatically every few minutes. There's a pre-show about Apollo, that simulated launch of Apollo 8 and the big rocket. But on behalf of Laura, myself, Paul, I do want to thank you very much for joining us today, getting a little closer look than most folks get, and I'd say some of the younger people on board are the perfect age in a few years to be taking picking up some red Mars dust. You never know. But enjoy the rest of your stay. Look forward to this amazing future. And thanks again for visiting here at Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah, well, that's something we can.
Pěkný drobeček. Prťavý lidičky vedle toho.